Um, that's a stupid idea. Shit. I'm eating this on a shag carpet. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. If you're not familiar with Clock Tower, it's kind of the first real horror game that was about running away from monsters you couldn't fight back against. It's essentially a pared down point and click adventure where you wander around a big empty mansion solving puzzles and trying not to get murdered by a 3-foot tall dude with a pair of hedge clippers. It's a struggle we can all relate to. It's actually like surprisingly effective for a Super NES game. It still looks really nice, the music is pretty spooky. The story of the first game has to do with you, Jennifer, getting adopted by a family who ends up being, murder crazy. It's like what is this flavor? It's like blueberry buttercream. It tastes like medicine. Overall, though, Clock Tower 1 is pretty simple. It doesn't really get too bogged down in lore or in-depth explanations for all the spooky stuff that's happening. Clock Tower 2, or Clock Tower, not to be confused with Clock Tower 2, that was the first one that came out in the US. It was a PS1 game. It's kind of a direct sequel to the first game, and it's apparently so boring that my LED goes out right here, and when I get back from dealing with that, I just forget to talk about the game at all. I set down the cake on the carpet. Basically, Jennifer survives, she has PTSD, and she moves to a small college town to get away from the Scissor Man, who ends up finding her anyways. I think it's kind of slow and boring, but it does introduce some kind of neat ideas, like segmented one-off levels that kind of break up the flow a little bit, and also it really heavily pushes the occult, which becomes sort of a mainstay for the series after that. That said, even though I'm kind of a detractor from Clock Tower PS1, it's definitely better than The Struggle Within.
It's all over. I have no desire to live.
If you commit suicide now, you'll turn into a zombie.
Me too? Dead, but alive, wandering forever.
No, don't, please.
It's a little contentious, the series rankings, but generally speaking, I would say most fans consider SNES game best, then Clock Tower PS1, then 3, then Struggle Within. Take all the stuff about the Scissor Man, take all the stuff about Jennifer, all the characters you know, throw them out the window, and replace it with Alyssa, a teenage girl who has a murderer split personality named Bates. Sounds good so far, but hold on. So on the off chance that you figure out you need to be Bates to solve a puzzle, you have to drop this amulet that suppresses him in one of the arbitrary hiding spots that exists in the level, then go get a little bit damaged so that you can become Bates, solve the puzzle, then run all the way back to where you left the amulet so that you can be Alyssa again. Story's fantastic though, no problems there.
It's hard, isn't it?
They did it to themselves.
Everyone's dead, and it's all my fault.
Maybe so.
But somehow even that one feels a little bit more grounded and linked to the continuity of the series than Clock Tower 3.
Alicia, this is no longer your home. This is the dark realm where I rule. In 2 hours, the clock will strike midnight, and your 15th birthday will arrive.
The game follows Alyssa Hamilton, who's a different Alyssa from the last game, don't worry about it, who travels home to see her mom on the eve of her 15th birthday because she gets a disturbing letter from her and wants to know what's going on. Happy birthday, Alyssa. Upon arriving, she finds a strange man in her house, and instead of leaving, she goes to her room and looks at a picture. And that's when something magical happens. This is the first level of the game, by the way. Holy fucking shit, dude. So the hook for this time is she travels through time and gets attacked by different serial killers throughout time. It's a logical direction to take the series, I guess. At a certain point, it's more of a fantasy adventure than a horror game. I mean, the first level, right? It's about reuniting the ghosts of a little girl and her father who died at war. How did the little girl die? Fuck, Jesus.
I killed her.
Yeah, no, I saw it. And then you got the second chapter, which is kind of more of the same, but with a mother and son. And this is how they die.
It's lovely. So warm and soft. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's enough playing happy families. You make me sick. How do you like the acid bath?
I'm sorry if you didn't catch that. He has a shower head that sprays acid, and then the other guy just picks up and throws him into the acid bath. He has two ways of melting people to death with acid. If you've been paying attention, you may have noticed that the cutscenes have a little... They got a certain something to them.
Albert, is that you?
Who the hell even directed? Huh. Most AAA games nowadays will do performance capture for a lot of their cutscenes. Games like Uncharted even went so far as to have the actual voice actors in the motion capture suits and have them deliver their lines while they did the performance capture to give a more realistic edge to the animations. And unlike most things Naughty Dog does to the people who work on their games, this is actually good. Damn, we got jokes in this video! But they weren't the first to do it. Clock Tower 3 actually did it too. Here's the problem with that though. There's very different kinds of acting that exist, right? And I'm not just talking about like subtle versus unsubtle, I'm talking about film versus theater. With cinematic mediums like film, TV shows, and video games, you're working with a camera that's typically really close in on the characters. You tell the story through your camera movements. And because the camera's so pushed in, you get to catch a lot more subtle details. Theater acting, on the other hand, is for people who are sitting potentially hundreds of feet away from the stage. So they have to make their motions a lot more dramatic, a lot more emphasized in order to capture the attention of the audience and communicate what they're trying to get across. The reason I'm saying all this is because Clock Tower 3 hired theater actors for their cutscenes. And the results are...
Dennis? What are you doing here?
Pull me up. Hurry!
Why did Nancy have to marry a man like you?
Who's playing that? Where's the sound coming from? Who's doing that? You saw her? When and where?
Calm down, calm down. It was yesterday morning and your mother drove by in her car. Oops. And she said you might come back from boarding school and asked me to hand that key to you if you wasn't back in time.
She must have...
Everybody's just kind of moving and shaking a lot. Especially fucking Dennis!
Thank you.
No, thank you. It was you who saved me. Something special.
Remember when I said it didn't really feel like a horror game? I take that, it's scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. I have an idea. Okay. So the cake part is fine. It's just the frosting that's bad. So I'm going to take the thing that it came in, and I'm going to tilt it. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to do one of these. Perfect. It's a delicious cake. I'm going to get ants in this fucking place.
Hey!
Well, it looks like you've grown up too, Dennis.
Oh, come on. That was then and this is now. Wait a minute, would you?
Dennis is the worst thing about any video game ever made. Which actually reminds me, this game does have one link to the original Clock Tower. These guys, believe it or not, actually, see, they're called the Scissor Twins, and they're kind of like Scissor Man, but shitty. Towards the end of the game, they kidnap Dennis, and Alyssa has to go on a whole grand adventure to save him just in the nick of time. Alright, fuck it. And if you thought Struggle Within was anime for having a dual-gendered, split-personality protagonist, Clock Tower 3 Alyssa finds out that she's part of a long bloodline who has to fight the Dark Lord, and her grandfather wants to engage in a dark ritual that will bind their souls together forever on her 15th birthday. I mean, we're not gonna get into that, but, like, happy birthday, Alyssa. I hope your next one is probably gonna be better than this one. But Alyssa isn't completely helpless this time. They actually break from series tradition a little bit and have her fight back with boss fights. And how does Alyssa fight those bosses? Actually, how does she do that? I don't remember. Let me just, yeah, yeah, now just take this and, yeah. Alright, we're done here.